how do you complete personal service? So no matter where you get divorced in Colorado, you're going to have to complete this step. And in order to do it, you've got a couple different options. So before I talk about the options, I want to let you know why we even have personal service as a step. And the reason for it is, although it would be really nice to get divorced without letting your spouse know, it's just not how our system works. That just wouldn't be fair. If you were on the other side of it, you would want to know. And so the system is set up to make sure that both parties are aware that this case is going on. So that's the whole purpose of service. It's a concept that we see a lot on TV that isn't always explained why we do it. So now let's talk about how you get it done. So there's a few different options depending on your scenario. At the very bottom line, personal service can be completed by anyone who's over the age of 18 who is not a party to the case. So in a divorce, that means you can't be the one to serve your spouse. But if you've got a friend who's over the age of 18 who will do it, that'll work. Alternatively, if you and your spouse are on pretty good speaking terms, they can either sign the initial documents with you, which will count as service, or if you've already filed, they can sign a separate document called a waiver of service that essentially has the same effect. They're letting the court know that they have received the initial documents, whether they signed them or they got them from you, and that they accept service. Now, if your spouse isn't willing to do that, there's a couple of different options that you can use. You can use your friend. If anyone does personal service who's over the age of 18, who's an adult, they will just have to complete a return of service or an affidavit of service where they swear that they did provide the documents to your spouse. If you don't have anyone who really wants to get involved, which I can totally understand, you've got two different third-party options that are available to you, most likely. First is going to be the sheriff's department in the county where your spouse either lives or works. Now, the sheriff's office is only going to do this during normal business hours. So if your spouse works nights and they generally aren't at home during the day, might not be a good option. But if you've got a spouse who is either home during normal business hours or is generally at the same office during that time, you can use the sheriff's Civil Process Service Division. They do this all the time. They will know exactly what to do and they'll be able to walk you through it. If you have no idea where your spouse is or they work kind of off hours where the sheriff's department might not be a good option, you can also try a private process server. There are a number of them in the state of Colorado. All of their fees range, but that's probably going to be the most expensive option. What's also really great about private process servers is they do a lot of investigation. So if you have a situation where you just have no idea where your spouse is, you have a general sense, maybe they're in Northwest Colorado, maybe they're in Southeast Colorado, I've seen a little bit on Facebook about where they might be, you probably want to look at using a private process server because they will do that investigation for you to actually find your spouse and then do the actual service piece. Lastly, if the private process server can't come up with anything and it's just unknown where your spouse is, there is an option to do service by publication, but there are some limits to that in terms of what can actually get done as part of the divorce. So that's really the last resort that you want to use. You want to try and use one of those other options to actually have personal service completed, but do know that if you're just banging your head against the wall and not getting anywhere, you have a safety valve that you can pull. That's not perfect, but it'll get something done. So that's how you complete personal service. Like I said, every divorce is going to have to go through this step, and how you do it is going to depend on your individual situation, but it's something that you should get done quickly so that you can keep moving on with the divorce.